Love one. Then interpret here. If you need interpret, please look down the bottom. D, look like Earth. Interpretation. Click.
For those who would use an interpreter uh, um, into English, please go ahead and click on the interpretation button at the bottom of the Zoom link. Dr. Charlene will be using sign language during the presentation. If at the end of the presentation you have any questions, Dan will be there to interpret if you need. So, to get us going, my name is Brenda Boaz Pond. I am the Library Services Coordinator here at LSDHH. And this is our third month of doing the Library Lunch and Learn, or L3. So if you wouldn't mind going off video to then allow Dr. Charlene to start her presentation and be the main person on camera. And if you have any questions, please feel free to type them out at any point in the chat box. We will be monitoring that for the question and answer section at the end. At that point, at the end of the presentation, you'll be able to take that opportunity to ask any questions you may have. We will also have a poll at the end of the presentation as well for you to answer some questions, a survey question that we have for you. So thank you all for being here. And now I will introduce Dr. Charlene. So I have to go back to the beginning. How do I do that? Perfect. Okay, thank you all for your patience. Again, my name is Dr. Charlene Scully. This presentation is based on my article as a doctorate in social work through that program. I found the uh, um, language deprivation element to be very fascinating. I myself, my background is also in social work. And this is from Diagnosed to Connection Social Work Guides for Families of Deaf Infants. Slides aren't cooperating. There we go. The purpose of this presentation is to explore how social workers can ethically and effectively provide support for hearing families after a diagnosis of deafness, from the time of that diagnosis and how they can ensure support throughout that child's lives. So I'll focus on how guidance, language access, and relationship-based practice can prevent isolation and strengthen early parent-child bonds. This will help with, again, reducing the isolation and strengthening. that parent-child relationships. Some important information to know is more than 80% of deaf children are born to hearing parents, and they don't have any background in deafness or understanding. Parents face bias, they face contradictory information, they face a lacking of information. They don't know about the risks involved of language deprivation and the emotional disconnect. When families first receive that diagnosis, they often feel shock, confusion, and fear. They are overwhelmed with so many different resources from so many different perspectives. They're also pressured to make a decision, whether it be to focus on spoken language, to give the child a cochlear implant. It is beyond overwhelming. There's no time for them to process the diagnosis or to process the grief that comes with it. Like I mentioned, that grief and uncertainty is a lot for those families to handle. They worry about communication, they have a fear of isolation. So, the role of the social worker. The social worker's responsibility is not to direct the parents towards a single choice. They have to be providing information about all potential choices and that they receive complete and unbiased and developmentally accurate information. And this has to be done at the parents' pace. There cannot be pressure made onto them. You have to let them wait if they are overwhelmed. And that's so the social workers act as advocates, educators in relational supports. These social workers are responsible to empower the parents and to be supportive and to be an ally. Social workers have to provide unbiased information. They have to be clear that there are many different communication methods and to clarify what is a myth and what is a fact. So the social workers have to provide the tools for that and to be sure to make sure that they are providing information that is evidence-based and evidence-backed. They have to explain what the spoken language approach and the sign language approach and the bilingual and bicultural, bimodal approach, what that looks like. There is a strong emphasis on technology such as cochlear implants and hearing aids. And while those are helpful tools for some kids, they are not effective for others. So for those who have a successful cochlear implant, that does not mean that they have access to communication. The important thing is to provide an accessible language at birth. And for a deaf child, that is sign language. So it's important to give the infant the opportunity to have that accessible language from birth. It's important to foster a relationship between the deaf infant and the parents. If the parents don't know they don't have all of the right information, then it can be rather difficult. If the parents don't have the ability to communicate effectively with their child, there will be a breakdown in that bond between them and their child. They need linguistic competence and support. They need mutual understanding. Anytime that you move your hands, that is stimulation, language stimulation for the baby. So, for example, eat, milk, finished, the infant is capable of capturing that language. If the infant can't hear, then speech does not stimulate acquisition of language. So that's why it's so important that we start with an accessible language from the beginning. The importance of early connection. Research has shown time and again that babies who are deaf, they aren't able to hear their parent speak in utero. So that means that they don't have that same access uh, um, ahead of time. So in a deaf infant, they are experiencing everything for the first time as they're born. So it can be quite overwhelming. We know that deaf infants are hardwired to be visual, whereas hearing parents or hearing infants, when they are in utero, they are developing out their auditory processing while they were still uh, um, in their mother's womb. So that's why for deaf infants, it's so important to uh, provide that accessible language at birth. And parents have the ability to learn the language with support, and the social worker, it is their responsibility to provide that support so that way they maintain learning the language. Moving on to early intervention and what families need. It is important to emphasize language and assessments. Families need reliable services in ASL. They need language coaches. They need emotional support. There's this idea of waiting for the infant to uh, um, get older to start teaching them speech, but they need to not wait and see and start signing right away. Exposure to the deaf community. Now in Tennessee, we have started to develop a deaf mentorship program that has been wildly successful. This gives families that reside in the same area a chance to meet up over coffee and to share their feelings and their journeys and their experiences. And it is incredibly helpful to keep things going. Building a support network is very important. Those out in rural areas don't have the same opportunities to get together as those in urban areas. So, parent support circles are very successful in ASL family learning resources as well. We have ASL classes that are designed for families to meet once or twice a month. I've been to one of them. They're quite fun. The parents are learning sign language, and you get to see the kiddos, and that's very nice. And we often see that the kids are get really excited and thrilled when they see that their parents can start using sign language with them. Moving on to working with diverse families. We can't have a one size fits all model, so it's important not to try to do so. And we have to make sure that we are accountable for people's cultural beliefs and adapt our communication approaches as such. We are all on the same playing field, and making sure that we are providing interpreters and providing culturally appropriate resources that is critical. Addressing misconceptions and fears. People tend to think that deafness means loss, that they are incapable of thriving. But I have my doctorate. I graduated from university, and I've made it work. There are many deaf people who make it work. I had experienced language deprivation myself, and I still was able to succeed. And I was lucky enough to be persistent. Deaf people don't inherently have this inability to thrive. And ASL does not block the ability to learn speech. That's also a myth. This belief that cochlear implants restore hearing. I've always been confused by that term, restoring hearing or fixing them, but the they're already deaf, so you can't restore something that was never there. So, but it is kind of a marketing tool that the cochlear implant industry uses to convince parents. Trauma-informed approaches. It is very common for children to experience, deaf children to experience language deprivation. It is really important to avoid judgmental language and to instead empower these diverse individuals to give them the tools necessary to develop their critical thinking skills. A couple of key resources for families that you should know is that Deaf Mentorship Program is an early intervention program and ASL learning resources that we have in Tennessee. There may not be these resources in other states, but we know for certain that we have it here in Tennessee. I'd like to review a case example with all of you. There was a family that was not sure about going with the ASL route or the speech route. Hearing people tend to ache and grieve their child's deafness, and they desperately want to hear their parent or hear their child say mommy and say daddy. Um, and that tends to be a big sticking point for them that they want to hear their child say those words to them, and they want their child to quote unquote be normal. A social worker has the ability to facilitate a values-centered decision after collecting all the potential, all of the evidence, all of the resources, and give the parent the chance to look through all of that with them. And if the parent has gone through all of that information, and the parent still wants to go through with the speech method, that is their prerogative, that is their right to do so. The social worker cannot tell them not to do so. But this is a short anecdote here, an example of dinner table syndrome. One Sunday after church, a family was at the table eating lunch, and there was a deaf boy. The siblings were there, the grandparents were there, the parents were there. He was eating, and he noticed that some people were laughing and looked around and tried to catch what was and started laughing with them. And then his mom saw that he was laughing, and and the boy asked, "What were we laughing about? What was funny?" And then the mom said that they would tell him later. And the boy saw that someone looked like they were angry, and the boy asked his mom, "Why do those people look angry?" And the mom said, "Oh no, they're not actually angry." And then later on, the boy saw that his siblings were arguing, got into a fight, and then the parents asked why, or then the boy asked why that happened. And she said, "Again, I will tell you later." And that right there is the most common deaf experience, children and adults alike, with their families. So I did not I've not had that experience with my family, but I have experienced with that concept of being told that I would be told later, and that something wasn't necessarily important, or that it wasn't true what I was seeing. I told you that we would be talking about practical tools for social workers, so getting into that now. Practical tools include informed choice counseling, developmental screenings that have a focus on language access, partnerships with deaf professionals, and advocacy with agencies. Those are all different tools that social workers have that they can give to parents. It's important to be honest. It's important to provide emotional support. It's important to provide language access and to provide connection to the community. By doing these different things, we will support both the child and the parent's well-being, emotional well-being. Some key takeaways. Early language access is essential. The most important thing here is the foundation to developing language. The social worker plays a critical role in preventing isolation as well as harm. Sign language is not a last resort. It is rather a foundational support for healthy development. Some final thoughts for you. From diagnosis to connection, social workers can transform fear into empowerment. When families are supported early, children thrive. They thrive emotionally, linguistically, and relationally. And that's all. We can now open it up for questions and discussion. hello. Okay. Thank you so much, Charlene. Dr. Charlene. When did you get your doctorate, if you could say that? I got it last year at December 15th at Harlow University. It was a great experience. My daughter's here watching, so she was there watching me graduate last year. And what did you major in? Social work. Majored in social work. I focused on research and giving presentations, and we becoming a case manager. We need more social workers, so social workers are less overwhelmed, and that they have the ability to give more decisions. Oh, I see Mary in the chat. I'll read some of the comments. Philip Boyd mentioned dinner table syndrome, right? That concept of people sitting around the table while a deaf child or a deaf adult misses what's going on repeatedly and gets told. They'll be told later. I saw the slide there, or the video that had tips that our Library Service for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Facebook page has a video that we've posted about tips of what to do over the holidays there to give people ideas for how to avoid language deprivation and that dinner table syndrome. Oh, great. Thank you. Tracy Duncan said, thank you for highlighting Tennessee offering deaf mentor / parent advisor programs. She says also that Tennessee School for the Deaf offers the Deaf Mentor and Parent Advisor program statewide, and that is available at no charge to families. Meetings are provided in a variety of mediums, whether it be in person or virtual or hybrid, and they have options that can match that family schedule. And they have that from ages 0 to 5. The TSD DMPA program trains, hires, supports, and uses a validated curriculum, resources that are, and they're highly qualified professionals, both deaf and hearing. And the focus is on our partnership with the family to join their journey to provide unbiased information that empowers the families to make the best informed decisions for their child and family. TSD provides an exceptional bilingual, bimodal instructional approach that is family centered and provides networking, resources, and materials. Additionally, Tennessee School for the Deaf provides superior and collaborative supports for transition from 0 to 3 into every county local education agency. And Mary Durkin says, hi, Mom, and that you graduated from Tulane University. Do people have any additional questions for Dr. Charlene Scully or additional comments? Oh, my other daughter's here as well. I'm proud my family's here. Proud mom moment here. Very heartwarming. So you moved here to the state of Tennessee. When did you move here? 4 years ago? Does anybody have any questions? Mary has a question. Sorry, I can't see. people want to reach out and ask additional questions about how to provide resources, how do they contact you? Well, it's a great question. I thank you. I plan to start a website, looking to do that maybe in February, and develop my own new email address as well. But for now, I can share with all of you my current email address if that's okay. Brenda, would you be able to share that email? Yes, absolutely. I can do that. If you could send that email out to all of the registrants, that would be excellent. I'm happy to share my email. But again, in the next few months, after I develop that website, I'll be able to share that as well. That's a great question. The email that you said to me, your personal email. Yep, that's the one. And if you can type it out now into the chat so people can have it, because some folks join in with others and aren't technically registered. It looks like Tracy has a question. Will Dr. Charlene be providing social work services to families in Tennessee? Can you repeat that question? Tracy asked if you'll be providing social work services to families in Tennessee. Oh, no, I will be providing support for social workers, providing them tools, providing online workshops to help them understand deafness and working with deaf and hard of hearing community members. I have a tool book, sort of is what I like to call it. And then they also ask, how do families connect with you? And they can use that email, right? Yep, they can absolutely use that email. Another question we're seeing here is, can you provide consultation to case managers and teachers of the deaf? Absolutely, I can. My focus is on social workers and case management. Okay, social workers and case management. Great. Tracy asks, will you be training social workers in Tennessee or out of state? And will there be a fee? I'm open to anywhere, honestly. And that second question, will there be a fee? Probably. Yes, probably. It's, and of course, rates can be negotiated. Great, and they'll be able to do that through via email with you. Um, you have a good do you have a good relationship with the Deaf Mentorship Program or Lead K? If you wouldn't mind expanding out a little bit or talking a little bit further about that. Oh, I see there's another question here. That toolbook will be published or available after training? I haven't gotten that far yet. It hasn't. Once, I mean, I haven't sent it to publishers yet. I haven't gotten to that point yet of being able to distribute the book. And then that second question that you asked. Okay, so you mean like it's not fully hasn't been published yet. Correct, right. And as you mentioned about Lead K, I've been involved with Lead K in the past in Indiana. I had a great experience there, and then I moved here in Tennessee and found out that they had it, and they asked me if I could be involved with that, and I did. But really, it's pretty similar to what I have been saying. It's nice. I've learned a lot, but I've also given my tools and my ideas to Lead K. So anyway, I've been involved with Lead K, and at this point, we have a a drafted bill to give to the legislature, and a lawyer is currently doing some edits there to focus on the terminology and the, just the general editing process. But that should be done by around January 13th. And then hopefully after that, we'll have a meeting to read through the bill and move forward with it after that. And we expect that it will pass sometime in the spring. And we need all of your support. Lead K will support infants, children ages 0 to 5 through their development uh, um, with kindergarten readiness, and we don't want children to fall behind. Right, Lead K focuses on language, equality, acquisition, and for deaf children. They collect data on assessments done on each child to see where they're at in their milestones of development as well as their language as well. And if they fall behind, they provide intervention resources dependent based on what the child's needs are. And the objective is to improve their reading scores and to intervene if there is a delay. Any additional questions before we get to the poll? I see another Tracy, or I see another question from Daniel. What was your process like? What's your story about going into college and then transitioning into social work? Really, I always wanted to be a nurse. I was born in the 1950s, and my dad told me that nurses can't be deaf. You can't be a nurse and also be deaf. So I dropped it, but my heart was always in service. That's where my passion lied. So I went to high school. I got married. I had 3 children, and I didn't have the ability to go to college at that point. So I kept that on hold. I raised my kids, and by the time I was 43, I couldn't get any promotions because I needed a degree for it. So I applied to Gallaudet, passed all the necessary exams, got in, and my mom was upset, and my dad was very, very happy and very supportive. And I, in 6 years, got my bachelor's and my master's degree in social work. And I, realized through that process that it was really my thing. And once I was done with that, I focused on mental health, and I built up services as a coordinator, as a services coordinator. And I did some admin work. I learned a lot of that through the years, through that work that I had done. And then in 2020, COVID hit, and I, retired because you couldn't do anything. I couldn't handle that, so I left and I retired, moved to Tennessee, and I didn't know anyone, so I decided let's pursue a PSD or a PhD at university. So again, I'm persistent, and my daughter can corroborate that absolutely. And I wanted to go into it. Really, I enjoy learning, so that was a big part of it. And I hope that answers your question. Well, thank you for sharing your journey and having that experience of that, being told that you couldn't and then proving that you can. And it's an amazing accomplishment to get a doctoral degree and now to share that knowledge and to teach others and to, you know, invest into the community. Right, like you mentioned before, everything that had happened to you and to others, you don't have it to happen now. That's right. I want to invest my time and my spirit and my soul to improve the lives of all deaf children. One last thing that I'm seeing from Tracy is that the Tennessee bill for Lead K is birth to 10. Oh, that's right. That's right. Thank you. And the Tennessee bill is following the Kansas bill.
and that the Kansas data is very strong and has provided a lot of evidence for why they should support the bill in the way that Kansas has done it, and to do it in the same fashion.